Well, we ready. Welcome once again, brothers and sisters. It's been such a long time. It's your lovely brother. It's the one and only. It's your brother, Christopher A. Fleming from ChristopherAFleming.com. I am a library manager and I like to help share some of my insights with you. You know what I'm talking about? So, this is where we got, yo, you got to excuse my voice a little bit. Overcoming a little cold and all of that. I got my tea right here with me. So hopefully we can get this thing going, but having too many coughing attacks. So we're gonna get this thing going real quick, like. So these clips are going to be a part of my Instagram feed, the LSPM framework at LSPM framework. And what the LSPM framework actually is the Library Systems Persuasion Framework. How did this come about? The Library System Persuasion Framework came from various presentations that I did at recent library conferences. I just did one late last year at South Carolina Library Conference, and earlier in 2015, I had the distinct honor of presenting at the National Conference, the American Library Association Conference. Now, both of these topics that I spoke about had two different topics overall. The one at the ALA conference was confronting and defeating the imposter syndrome. And the one at SELA, the one locally in South Carolina, was called The Art of Library Persuasion Using Sales Techniques to Promote the Librarian and Services. And in the midst of creating these, I mean, it's been a roller coaster of a ride, man. I had the opportunity to publish the imposter syndrome lecture into a book through a nice publishing company. I'm not going to put their name out there because I decided against it, because I was excited at first, to get published with a major academic, printing press and all of that good stuff. But once I started looking at the fine print, it just didn't work out for me. I come from the ilk of Master P, and I'll sell these things out my trunk before I take a bad deal such as that one, and a deal that didn't have any protections for the author as much as it did for the publishing company. So I didn't think that the terms and all of that were fair. So once I responded with some of my demands that I would like for this contract to have, they was like, nah. So I was like, that's it's totally within your right. So it's all good. And we keep things moving. So shortly thereafter, I created Art of Library Persuasion, which was the presentation that I did at SCLA. See, I'm a manager that became a librarian. I'm not a librarian that became a manager. So within that sense, I noticed the difference between me and a lot of my colleagues, that it was just different because we had a different foundation. My undergrad was in business management. So, having that as a foundation and having a nice sizable chunk of my professional life in the retail management gave me, I believe, certain insights that someone who became a manager within the library world just doesn't have. So I created that one to kind of bridge the gap between the two, because ever since I've taken a lead at my branch 3 years ago, all of our metrics pretty much are over 100%, from foot traffic to card registrations, programs. I mean, pretty much anything that you can think of. I mean, over in the high hundreds, 185% here, and so on and so forth. So these things don't happen in a vacuum. So I decided to create an overall framework called the Library Systems Persuasion Framework. And I got that name because I started studying more into systems thinking. And I always knew what systems thinking was in a sense, but I just didn't know the name. So once I actually started getting into systems thinking, reading books like Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows, it I like cut on that wasn't on before. So I decided to integrate everything that I learned from retail management, my foundations of management through my undergrad and my lived experience, and apply it here to the library world. That's where we're at right now. So that's where the library systems persuasion model comes from. And thinking the core of it is looking at the library through the systems thinking lens. Not only the system of the library, there are multiple levels within systems. There's so many systems within systems. So many things are intercorrelated, interconnected, and once you really start looking at things from a systems point of view, you really start seeing it everywhere. So when it comes to management, and I have this conversation with my staff often, especially those that want to rise up within the library world and become leaders and all that good stuff themselves within the library world. I first set the framework like this. Matter of fact, I did this email earlier today. It's 2026. We're new in the mix, so we have to make a set the standards of the year, because reflecting on 2025 and all of that good stuff. Sometimes 2025 was a rough year for a lot of my staff, for just things that was outside of the library, from housing issues to car issues to health issues to just a multitude of things that was just hitting us all at the same time. And there are residual effects that tends to happen along with that. And going into now 2026, like, what the theme of 2026 is: refresh, renew, and a restart. Everybody's fresh, everybody's new. Let's start this from the ground up. And this is the intentions in which we're going to promote our branch as it aligns with the overall vision of the overall library. Because in my particular library system, we just appointed a new executive director. So what I also said in this email as well is that our executive director is going to have a state of the library address on our next CSI day that's coming up in February. So after I had my one-on-ones with my staff, and to just give them a brief overview of what systems thinking is, I gave them a brief view of how I'm going to be leading this branch in that sense. I told them, when it's time for our executive director to give this speech, I want us all to be front and center. All of us to be front and center with notes and listening intently to what our executive director is saying. And then I set a team meeting that very next day, so we can then reflect on what it is that our executive director just said and how we can apply that overarching vision through the systems thinking lens to our branch as well. So one of the ways that I had to get my staff on one accord is understanding the system of the library. And understanding the system of the library comes from understanding the hierarchical positions of the library. So first, it's the top dog is our executive director, and then from there there's an assistant deputy director, and then from there there's the executive. The executive leadership team, which includes like my boss and and others. So what I ended up telling them this, if you want to move up through the library systems or move up in any system in and of itself, the name of the game is making your most immediate boss's job as easy as possible. This is something that I tell my boss all the time. I am here to help make your job as easy as possible. So when we have our one-on-ones, I ensure that we have all the things that are directed from the top down handled. Furthermore, I make sure that all of the things that I can handle, I handle them, and don't bring her phone up with things that would take her attention away from the work that is specifically specified for her. Okay, so look at it this way. Let's say at the very top is the executive director, right? And you get a whole brick. Yeah, I'm about to take it there. Some of y'all might know the song from OJ the Juice Man, quarter brick, half a brick, whole brick, right? So let's put that system into the lens of library work, okay? Just bear with me for a second. The executive director has the overarching vision of the library of itself, the full overarching vision. That's the brick, all right? So when she has that brick and she's given out the work, she's going to cut that brick in half, because half of that brick is the work that only the executive director can do. The other half of that brick is the directives that's going to go down the hierarchical ladder. So that other half of the brick is going to go towards the other directors that are under her. So my boss is a director of library experience. So part of that brick is going to go to her, right? And I'm just one of what, 6 or so, let's say, bosses that this work is being given to. All right. So my boss is coming down to the lower level bosses. This is where I'm at. And that comes with directives, right? I get that piece of that brick and then I cut it in half as well. Because part of that brick is what only I can do. And then the other part is what I'm going to break and give to my supervisors. And this is the most important part right here, especially when it comes to supervisors. Because to me, sometimes supervisors is the most ambiguous term when it comes to the hierarchical levels of management. When I give that work to the supervisors, it's imperative that I teach my supervisors that just because I'm giving you this piece of work, it doesn't mean that you personally have to do all of that work yourself. You too also can slice that work, do the work that only supervisors can do, and then you delegate the rest of the work to the foot soldiers that's on the front line that's helping our customers in and out. That's how the system works. And everybody has to understand their position for the system to run smoothly. No one hierarchical level, in a sense, is better than the other, because without the level that's above it or below it, the next level wouldn't exist. Without the customer, none of us exist. Without that patron coming in to use our library services, the front line doesn't exist, the supervisors doesn't exist, I don't exist, the upper directors don't exist, and then the top dog don't exist. None of that exists. So what's the overall function of the library is to ensure that we are giving our customers the pristine customer service to keep them coming back to our library. And in this sense, I'm the boss of my tower. I want them to come back to my branch. And the way that that's done I'm teaching my staff more is understanding the systems, understanding the work. Because you have to understand the function of your position. Again, front line, that you're doing the day-to-day, check in and out, handling the customers, all of that good stuff. And the front line is handling the customers, the day-to-day, the day-to-day effects. Okay. When there's something that happens on that day-to-day situation that is beyond the capacity of that frontline worker, then they will get their supervisor. Again, that's how things roll. And then once everybody understands their role and their part in it, everything's run smoothly. And you can feel when an organization runs smoothly. So this is what I spoke about in the email to my staff is, we have to understand the system thinking of all of this. We have to understand the systems thinking of what's going to be the vision that our executive director is going to give down the pipeline, and how we're going to relate to it, and how we're going to look at it through our lens and our branch, and what we're going to do to make our branch stand out amongst all the others. Because my branch, my tower, is totally different from the neighboring towers here and there, even though we get the same director, the same directives from the executive director. So there's the overarching vision that the executive director has. But one thing that you must understand as leaders is you also have a vision for your particular tower, your particular branch. Your particular branch is led by your vision. Now, don't get it misconstrued in thinking that you're the only person that has a vision with the towers that you're working with, the branch that you're working with, because you also have supervisors. You also might have assistant managers. You might also, and you also have your front staff crew. To ensure that your branch is running effectively and your system is running well, you have to give space and room for everybody to have a little bit of their vision, participate in the grand vision of your branch. That's what gives people buy-in to the leadership that you're doing. I have a staff that loves bugs. That's their thing, bugs. All right. Well, definitely in the springtime, we have different programs and story times or whatever that surrounds bugs. That's your lane. We have another who loves craft. Okay, well, crafts are your thing. That's your lane for programming. That's your lane for doing different projects. Have at it. But my overall vision for my branch is for my library to be a catalyst for change when it comes to the literacy rates of the community. That's the overall function, or I would say the overall purpose of my branch. And there's a difference, in a sense, between function and purpose. The function is understanding the job role in which you're in. The purpose is the humanity that you place on top of it. So the function of the library is, yes, help the customer with the library services and all that good stuff that we have. But when your purpose is intertwined with that, that's what gives the humanity behind it. Yes, I mean, I of course, it's like the job description. The function is the job description. What the job description said once you got hired. But if you have purpose behind the work that you do, that the purpose is what's going to continue. Is what's going to help you and your staff continue to come to work every day with a certain urgency, a certain love, and a certain respect, and certain reverence. So again, it's important for me as the leader of my branch, the leader of my tower, to ensure that the people under me have a piece of vision within my overarching vision, which is a part and parcel of the vision of my executive director. Then again, the executive director has the whole brick, and it breaks down to my boss, breaks down to me, breaks down to my supervisors, breaks down to the front end staff. So in essence, my supervisors, my supervisors are an extension of me. I am an extension of my boss. My boss is an extension of my executive director. That's how all of this works together. That's why communication is key. That's why communication is key. And that's one of the critiques that one of my supervisors had is, we just got to ensure that the communication is clear going up and down. Because sometimes they feel that they don't know what's going on, but they're just running on autopilot, and that autopilot is still ensuring that we give the best customer service to our customers that come to our branch, which is good. But now that we're going into 2026, I got to ensure that the communication is clear enough that everybody understands the role that they play in the overall grand scheme of the library. Because especially with supervisors, especially when supervisors get hired or promoted from the front end staff, the supervisory position tends to get muddied because the person that got raised up from their colleagues still have that mindset of the colleague and not quite understanding that now they're a part of the management hierarchy. And that's what a lot of times where a lot of confusion happens, because the role of the supervisor tends to get lost. And sometimes what comes along with that is a little bit of resentment from those that were your colleagues, your equal colleagues, and now you're in a different space, and now you have to give out directives and all of that good stuff from your boss, because your function is to make your supervisor's job as easy as possible through delegation and all of these things like that. So that's where we're at with it. The supervisory position has to be, in my branch, I'm going to help make the supervisory position its own identity. What I basically found, came to the conclusion of when I was writing notes from my one-on-ones, is that the supervisor position has kind of lost its identity, or it doesn't really have an identity. Because especially with smaller branches, it can easily feel like a supervisor is just an associate with extra sauce. And I don't want my supervisors to feel that way. One, because that's not who they are. Two, you got that extra pay bump for a reason. You got that extra pay bump for a reason, because you bear more responsibility than those that are on the front line. So going into 2026, what we're going to do is, aside from more team, like branch meetings, we're going to have more manager supervisor meetings as well. Ensure that my supervisory staff has specific projects that they want to accomplish as well. Some of them are going to be directives for me, but I want my supervisors to feel autonomous enough that if they see a gap that needs to be filled in our community, that they can take up projects themselves, develop a team from the front staff that we have, and bring some dope things into fruition as well. That then helps their own leadership development. Excuse me for 1 second, y'all. Appreciate that, y'all. Like I said, I'm overcoming this cold here. I know I sound all, ugh, you know what I'm saying? But it's all good. So that's what it's all about. Having your staff understand their part of their part of the system. Develop a systemic thinking within my own branch, within your own branch. Understand all of the moving parts that exist within your branch. Understand all the moving parts that exist within your overall library system. That's something that has to be understood not only by you as the leader of your branch, but also the staff that especially the staff that wants to rise within the library system. They have to understand how the system works. But to go even deeper than that, there are systems within systems, like we spoke about earlier. One of the systems within the system is the system of the human being. A lot of people say they want to be manager. A lot of people say that they want to rise into these higher positions, but you really have to understand what comes along with that. You have to understand that when you're a manager, you're not only managing the library and its resources, you're also managing people, their attitudes, their feelings. You're also managing partnerships. You're also managing budgets, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that you're managing under that umbrella, and there's a reason why you get a pay bump once you become a manager. You know, I have the ambition to eventually become an executive director myself one day, and for me to do that, I'm going to try my best to learn as much from my executive director that we have right now, just as I did with the executive director that we had in the past. Find opportunities in which that I can be a mentee to those that are ahead of me. Let me be an assistant to the assistant to the assistant. I developed a passion of helping, again, the supervisors, find their identity. You know what? Let me take the lead on that so I can help make the system move a little bit smoother. Show a way that I can be an asset to the overall workings of this particular library system. And through www.christopherafleming.com, the LSPL model, we actually have a fully written out framework and playbook and all that good stuff as well. So if you wanted to learn how to do it, you can do it as well. This it's more of a consultation than just a book for you to read and all that good stuff. And maybe eventually I might make it into a book that you can just buy and read and see if you can apply it yourself. But a part of my overall ambition is to help other library systems as well. And I'm the facilitator and the steward of this particular framework. And at least at this particular level and at this particular time, I'm going to be the one that helps, facilitate it in the way that it needs to be done. But I'm excited for 2026. I'm excited to put a lot of this theory into practice, see where things are right, see where things are wrong. In an upcoming video, we're going to talk about systems thinking itself. We're going to go more into what exactly is systems thinking, feedback loops, reinforcement loops, balancing moves, all of these things that helps the library run as smoothly as possible. And then also apply it to the human being themselves, combating the imposter syndrome. Because if you have the imposter syndrome, that affects the system as well. A confident associate and a not confident associate will affect the system in two different ways. So you as manager, you're going to have to be able to navigate that as well. How are you going to help your staff navigate themselves into a more confident version of themselves? This is the management that I'm talking about. This is that art and that skill of speaking life into your staff, into your supervisors, into even your higher ups. Because just because people are at higher positions doesn't mean that they are not carrying burdens of imposter syndrome. They are not carrying burdens of lack of self-confidence. And they are not carrying burdens of I'm here just because ... So what can I do, not only as a manager of my branch, not only as the manager of my tower, what can I do as a participant in the system to help influence and ensure that everybody around me, from vertically and horizontally, has that inner resolve to know that they can face whatever it is that challenges them. That's what teamwork is. That's what collaboration is on that level. Because a lot of these organizations, they're running well. How much better could they run if everybody was on one accord and knew that they was capable, knew that they deserved to be there? That's what I'm all about. Whoa! I guess on that note, I'm gonna press a pause for now. This is just an introduction to your brother. An introduction to LSPM, the Library Services, the Library Systems Persuasion Model, and a reintroduction to myself, Christopher A. Fleming of www.christopherafleming.com. Please go to that website. Please go to www.christopherafleming.com to book a conversation, book a consultation. I would love to assess you. The only reason I'm still doing this because I know I'm gonna chop it up on Opus Clip. Take 4. So please go to www.christopherafleming.com and book a conversation, book a consultation with your brother. I would love to see and assess your library system to see where your system is currently. See where friction points might be. And see how we can navigate past them. It's your brother, Christopher A. Fleming of the Library Systems Persuasion Model, signing out. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.